Thank you very kindly, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that a bill entitled An Act to Repeal the Tobago House of Assembly Act, Chapter 2503, and to provide for the powers and functions of the Tobago Island Government and the Tobago Legislature and for related matters be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this is the companion bill to the Constitution Amendment Tobago Self-Government Bill 2020, which is now before the Committee of the Whole of this House. Madam Speaker, as you would recall, we spent the last 2 days discussing the provisions of these bills, and this procedure is now required to formally move this bill through the required stages to become law. This bill, Madam Speaker, will provide the legal mechanisms to set in motion the new Tobago Island government in its widest sense. That is to say, the Tobago Executive Council and the Tobago Legislature. Madam Speaker, it is important that these arrangements be set out in foundation law, although the actual operations will be put in place over a period of time. Madam Speaker, it will be the operations, the institutions, all of these will be left for Tobago to put in place to make this law a reality. Madam Speaker, the question may be asked, can the measures in this bill be amended? And Madam Speaker, the question is answered, yes. Yes, they can, as is the case with all other laws, Madam Speaker. But as the mover of this bill, let me state categorically that this law ought not and will not be arbitrarily amended. And this is similar to how this Parliament has treated with its predecessor act, the Tobago House of Assembly Act. Madam Speaker, this bill, if I go through the provisions, provides the clear and unambiguous jurisdictional boundaries of the Tobago Island government by prescribing that Tobago's administrative responsibility for marine waters would extend to a distance of 11 nautical miles from the low water mark of the island of Tobago. And Madam Speaker, you will find this in clause 5.2 of the bill. The establishment of the offices of Chief Administrator and Administrators is to be found in clauses 9 and 10 respectively, and by clause 11, the Tobago Island government can employ persons on contract as the government sees fit. Clauses 12 to 27 deal with the new Tobago legislature and provides for the following: the time limit for swearing in, remuneration of members, the establishment of oversight departmental committees, much the same as exists in the National Parliament, the establishment of the Public Accounts Committee, the establishment of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, and the exemption of members of the Assembly from jury service. Madam Speaker, it mirrors what the government of the state of Trinidad and Tobago has in place. And Madam Speaker, what is very noteworthy is that committees such as the Public Accounts Committee, the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee are all oversight committees which will exist for the new Tobago Island government. Madam Speaker, Clause 22 provides that the House of Assembly is a public body for the purposes of the Prevention of Corruption Act, and by Clause 23, members of the Assembly are made persons in public life. I turn now to clauses 28 to 42. And these clauses, Madam Speaker, deal with financial issues. Significantly, by virtue of clause 28, the Secretary of Finance is made the corporation sole for the island of Tobago and for the Tobago Island government, a position similar to the Minister of Finance for the state of Trinidad and Tobago. Other clauses in this part provide for the seal of the corporation sole, as well as the Tobago allocation, which we spoke about at length being established as a minimum at the level of 6.8% of the annual appropriation. A major improvement, Madam Speaker, from the 4.3% that now exists. The Tobago Fund, the power to borrow, and the power to invest are all set out in this part of the bill. Madam Speaker, Clause 43 establishes the Fiscal Review Committee, also discussed during the debate on the Joint Select Committee's report. This committee will be charged with ensuring that all revenues, all fees and duties collected in Trinidad that are attributable to Tobago are held for the account of Tobago, and it is this committee that must work towards the establishment of a mechanism for revenue sharing between the national government and the Tobago Island government. Madam Speaker, should the Tobago Executive Council require an allocation above the legislated 6.8%, it will also be the duty of the Fiscal Review Committee to make the determination of what additional sums should be provided. Madam Speaker, with all legislation that makes such a major change, we must put in place transitional arrangements. And the transitional arrangements have been made clear in clauses 44 to 55 and provide for the continuation of matters and rules of the Tobago House of Assembly, the saving of employment, and the continuation of association of representation and collective arrangements. So the union representations and all the collective arrangements are saved for this transition, during this transition, Madam Speaker. By virtue of Clause 53, all lands and other property of every kind vested in the former Assembly are vested in the Secretary of Finance, who shall hold them in trust for the Tobago Island government. Clause 54 provides that legal proceedings pending immediately before the coming into force of this Act by or against the former Assembly may, on the coming into force of the Act, be continued by or against the Assembly, by or against the Tobago Island government as the party to the proceedings in place of and instead of the former Assembly. Clause 56, Madam Speaker, provides for the amendment of Schedules 1 and 2 and provides as follows, and I quote, "The President may by order, subject to negative resolution of Parliament, amend Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 to add any other matter." To add, Madam Speaker, not to take away. You will recognize that this clause expressly provides for the enlarging of Tobago's executive and legislative powers, but is notably silent on any process to reduce powers already devolved. Madam Speaker, that is very significant, as it is only to add, I repeat, not to take away. And this was very important to the Tobago stakeholders. Consequential amendments to certain acts are made in clauses 57 to 60, including the Interpretation Act and the Statutes Act. Clause 28 repeals the Tobago House of Assembly Act. Of extreme importance, Madam Speaker, is Clause 61, which proposes the deletion of the words, "The island of Tobago shall be a ward of the colony of Trinidad and Tobago" from the Trinidad and Tobago Order in Council 1898. Madam Speaker, this was of extreme importance emotionally and otherwise for the stakeholders and for the people of Tobago. Schedule 1 of this bill lists matters for which the Tobago Executive Council shall have exclusive administrative jurisdiction in Tobago, whilst Schedule 2 lists the matters for which the Tobago legislature shall have exclusive lawmaking powers in Tobago. Madam Speaker, enumerating the powers devolved from the national legislature is very necessary to promote legal certainty, which is required by both the National Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago and the proposed Tobago legislature when making laws. Clarity is also required in order to minimize conflict and judicial uncertainty. In this way also, the people of Tobago, as well as those in Trinidad, will know exactly what areas of legislative responsibilities are possessed by the Tobago legislature. Madam Speaker, the model recommended in this report will also facilitate smooth transitional arrangements, since all laws will continue to have effect in Tobago until Tobago enacts specific laws pursuant to the specified list. Madam Speaker, this Tobago Island government proposal and now this bill was discussed quite extensively during the debate on the report. And with these first few words, Madam Speaker, I thank you and I beg to move.
Honourable members, I shall now propose the question for debate. The question is that a bill entitled "An Act to Repeal the Tobago House of Assembly Act